So Anthony Davis being out for a month puts the Lakers in quite the predicament, right? Now, obviously, they could go and try to work out some trade. They can maybe try to sign some pieces. They could stand pat and hopefully weather the storm until AD gets back, right? It's going to be really interesting to see what Rob Pelinka decides to do moving forward with this AD injury. Is this cause him to have more of a sense of urgency to like get a trade done? Or does he look at this as like, well, we're already so far behind, no AD. What trade is really going to be able to come in and have the impact to make us that much better to where all of a sudden we're in the conversation, and then you add AD and it's like, okay, now we're a contender. Maybe they could look at something like a Bojan Bogdanovic. He was a piece that you thought about trading before. You offered a pick. They want an unprotected first. Maybe now you do the unprotected first and you look at it as like, okay, you go get Bojan Bogdanovic. He's a guy that can come in and help with some of the scoring that you're losing with Anthony Davis. You're not going to have the defense, but maybe Russ, LeBron, and Bojan could give you enough firepower to then, stay and kind of weather the storm until Anthony Davis can return. And then once Anthony Davis returns, now you're like a legit contender. That could be something that they could look at. Another option, of course, is to go get like a Miles Turner or get a Jakob Poeltl, somebody along those lines. The problem is right now, every team is going to want the stars and the moon for any type of Lakers trade, right? I mean, the Indiana Pacers, one, don't even really want to trade Miles Turner. Two, if they did trade Miles Turner, they're going to demand both unprotected first just for Turner, right? Because they wanted both first unprotected for Buddy Hield and Miles Turner. And now the Lakers are at a point of just pure desperation. The Pacers could look at it as like, we don't have to trade him. We could just, keep him this season or trade him at the trade deadline. Like, can you wait till then? If you can, then sure, we'll talk at the trade deadline. Otherwise, two unprotected first, and that becomes the problem. Miles Turner, also, he has injury history. He's been as injury prone as Anthony Davis in recent years. He's done a pretty good job so far this season, but so did Anthony Davis up until this point. So do you really want to put all your chips into Miles Turner? And then when Anthony Davis comes back, how is the fit with Anthony Davis and Miles Turner? Is it clunky? Is it awkward? Or is it a seamless fit? Maybe it will be, and that could be something. But the Lakers still would likely need several pieces. And if you give up all your first, now you have no way of getting those several pieces. And that can become a real concern. So do you take the risk and go say, okay, we need a big, or do you trust, say whenever Winning Gabriel comes back, but Thomas Bryant as well. Thomas Bryant's really stepped up and he's shown that he can kind of carry a bit of the workload with Anthony Davis out. Can that continue with his chemistry with especially Russell Westbrook and Russ being able to just kind of put him in position? Can the other guys step up like they did when Anthony Davis got hurt and kind of carry the win against Denver? Can they do that moving forward? If they can, then that could be beneficial as well. That could kind of buy Rob Pelinka some time and then kind of remove some of that desperation to where they could go and look at a move. Personally, I think Hassan Whiteside, don't go do a trade. Or if you are going to go do a trade, like I said, go do like the Bojan Bogdanovic trade, or, do some type of trade to go get the pieces you were going to get otherwise, right? Do the trade that you were going to do with Anthony Davis on the team. Go do that deal. Go take a look at a guy like Hassan Whiteside, who can be your rebounder and shot blocker and provide a lot of the stuff that Anthony Davis did provide, right? And then Russ, we've seen Russ just have incredible chemistry and work with Hassan, with just a big man in general. So I'd imagine that he'd be able to do the same thing with Hassan Whiteside. And then you still have Thomas Bryant, so you could have Thomas Bryant start. You could have, Whiteside start if you wanted to, however, and bring Bryant off the bench. Hassan Whiteside also gives you a different look that the Lakers currently don't have, right? Two of the big issues that the Lakers have in general is rebounding, which Hassan Whiteside would greatly help. I mean, he's a legit rebounder or a legit 10 to 12 rebound a game guy, and in real minutes, which he would probably get in Anthony Davis's absence. Also, he's a guy that you could have start if you wanted to. Like, if you want to have, say, when Anthony Davis comes back, you want to move AD to the 4, you could start Hassan Whiteside. Right? And he could be a shot. Imagine Whiteside and Davis down low blocking shots. Hassan Whiteside gives you a lot of the stuff that Miles Turner would give you, except for more rebounding. Although he doesn't have the shooting that Miles Turner has. So you wouldn't get the floor spacing, but you'd get the shot blocking and you'd get a better rebounder. And Hassan Whiteside is a guy that may have gotten a little humble pie not being on a roster, because that's kind of been the big thing. Hassan Whiteside thinks he's better than he is. Hassan Whiteside's kind of always been a little bit of a locker room issue, a guy that just, he wants his touches, he wants this, he wants that, and teams have just gotten tired of it, and teams don't want to take the chance on him. And it's not that he's a bad player. I mean, even in limited minutes with teams like Utah, like he was still putting up great stats. Like if you adjust for his 40 per, like he was like a 15 and 12 guy, right? I mean, he's still a guy that could go get you points, he can get you rebounds, block shots, he can play defense down in the perimeter, like that, or in the interior. That's what you want, right? That's what you need, especially with Anthony Davis gone. And so maybe go take a look at a guy like Hassan Whiteside. It can't hurt, right? Worst case scenario, it doesn't work and you just let him go. Sign him to a non-guaranteed, or give him like an exhibit 10 or something like that. Run that, give him another exhibit 10 if it works. And then if you need to, assign him to a contract, right? I mean, it's what they did with like a Stanley Johnson, and they've done it with other players in the past where you give them, exhibit 10, or you give them, a non-guaranteed contract. I mean, look what they did with Matt Ryan. Right? We need size. We need a center. Thomas Bryant, Wenyen Gabriel are great, but you need somebody else, right? And Damian Jones has just looked lost. Damian Jones just has not looked like the answer. Go get a Hassan Whiteside who can come in, who can, be your rebounder, be your shot blocker, be that help defender that the Lakers are really going to need. He could really help with the rebounding in general. He's a guy that you can still keep around even if AD comes, right? Like, so that's a big thing too, is like if you go and make you some trades or things like that, like you want AD at the 5. I know people are going to look at this and go, oh, this is why you don't play AD at the 5. AD got hurt at the 4 too. AD missed several months playing at the 4, right? It's not that, it's just him, right? He gets injured. It happens. Whether it's the 4, whether it's the 5. And last thing you want with AD's injury history is having him have to chase around smaller players. Can he do that in spots? Sure. Can you play AD at the 4 at times? Yes, sure. But we saw even the bubble year, right? You had Dwight Howard, you had JaVale McGee, right? But come playoff time or to close games and things like that, Anthony Davis played the 5. You had AD play the 5 to close out games. You had AD play the 5 in big games, especially come playoff time. Well, if you get a guy like Miles Turner, you can't really do that. Right? Is Miles Turner going to be okay not starting? Or is Miles Turner going to be okay with, coming off the bench or not closing out games or whatever? Like, no, he's probably not. But Hassan Whiteside, who has been a backup before, he might not have that issue, right? And you could start him in spots. You can, have him have DMPs, whatever you need. But I really think the Lakers have a guy that's out there that is free, that won't cost you anything, that you can give an opportunity to, bring them on and just see. If it works, great. You're in a good position. If it doesn't work, fine. It doesn't work, and you just let him go, and then you continue to find a deal. You continue to find what you need to find. But if he does come in and he is great, like what if he comes in and he fits in seamlessly? He comes in, he does the dirty work, he rebounds, he blocks shots, he, guards the interior, all of those things that we need. He gets you 10 points a game or whatever through lobs and putbacks and all that stuff. Then perfect. Why would you go trade for a center? You have plenty of center depth now. You have, a guy who could start if you need him to, if you do want to run AD at the 4. And now you got, AD and Hassan Whiteside. Good luck trying to score, right? Like that was the whole thing with Miles Turner and Anthony Davis. Well, you could have the same thing with AD and Whiteside. Again, you don't have the shooting and the floor spacing that you'd have, but guess what? You can now use your assets to go get that rather than trying to get a center to replace AD during this time period. Because that's ultimately what you'd be trying to do in a trade, right? Get somebody that can come in, play the spot until AD comes back. And Jakob Poeltl, I think, makes a lot of sense in that regard because, again, he's a guy that could come off the bench if you need him to. He's a guy that you could start next to AD. He's a solid player who could go get you buckets and is a low post threat that you can just dump the ball down to, go get you an easy bucket or two. That is absolutely solid. You can go that route if you want to, or go trade for Bojan Bogdanovic, sign Hassan Whiteside, bring Hassan Whiteside into the starting unit, let him start at the 5 and be your shot blocker, or have Thomas Bryant start at the 5 and then bring Whiteside off the bench, or start both of them, whatever. Have LeBron run point if you have to, whatever you got to do between now and the time that AD comes back, right? And then when AD comes back, you're great. If Hassan Whiteside works and he fits and he's getting you, he's giving you a double double every night on assists, rebounds, and he's giving you 2.5 to 3 blocks a game, which he's done, right? Whether that's not an unfathomable thing for Hassan Whiteside. He is a guy that does that. Even in limited minutes, he's giving you 1.5 blocks per game, right? Even in 10 minutes of play. So he's a guy that can just make it difficult and make it challenging for teams when they get into the paint. And when Anthony Davis comes back, you could go big if you want to. You could have him come off the bench. You could even run him and Thomas Bryant, because Thomas Bryant's ability to spread the floor. So you could even go big with that while Anthony Davis is out. I just think Hassan Whiteside is potentially your answer to your problem, and it doesn't cost you anything. And you have the roster spot because you waived Matt Ryan. So go take a chance. What do you have to lose? Nothing. Again, worst case scenario, it doesn't work. Let him go. Hey, sorry, we tried. But I would at least be on the phone and calling Hassan Whiteside's agent and just saying, hey, look, this is what we need from Hassan. Is he willing to do that? We need him to come in. We need him to fill in a role, whether it's off the bench or starting. We need him to just rebound and block shots and play defense. We need him to be a role guy that can, provide what we're lacking right now with AD out. If it works, we'll sign him to a deal. If it doesn't, then we're going to let him go. What does he want to do? I don't know why Hassan Whiteside wouldn't say, I would love to do that. And look at Dwight Howard, look at JaVale McGee. They did the same thing to Dwight Howard. There were talks about Dwight Howard being completely out of the league, and Dwight Howard, he's done, his career's over, all that stuff. And the Lakers said, look, we'll bring you in, but this is what we need. We need you to change. We need you to be a rebounder, a defender, a shot blocker, and you're going to have games where you don't start. You're going to have games where you do start. You're going to have games where you don't play. You're going to have games where you play, several minutes. Are you willing to come in and make that sacrifice to be on a team and play the game of basketball? Yes or no? And he said, yes, let's do it. And guess what? He was perfect in that role. Perfect. Why can't Hassan Whiteside do the same thing? That's my thoughts and opinions. But again, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on you. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below.